Hey everyone, I'm Mark Sargent, and this is Flat Earth Q&A emails number 55, where you email me your Flat Earth questions to msargent, that's msargent 23 at comcast.net, and I will respond to them here. So let's get right to it. First one is called Flat Earth. Mark, I'm a born-again believer in the Lord Jesus Christ, and I believe that the Bible teaches that the sun, moon, and stars revolve around the earth once each 24 hours. I have listened to numerous sources online, both Bible believers and secular, and many of them claim that the earth is flat. I listened to several of your recordings, and I have a question. Why do the flat earth believers use the azimuthal equidistant map? Africa, South America, and Australia are all distorted in both size and shape on that map. Why doesn't someone devise a new map, making all of the continents the correct dimensions? I think it would be more convincing. Those living in the Southern Hemisphere might be more acceptable to the idea of a flat Earth. Thank you for your time and consideration, Marilyn K. Stout. Thank you, Marilyn. And yeah, we know there's some perspective issues with the AE map. We know that we've known it for a long time, and there are people right now that are working on revised versions of them. But the AE map is the most simple to explain to the average person on the street, and it's the one used by the United Nations flag, so that's what I'm going to stick with for now. This one is called, there's another map one called New Map. Hey Mark, Jimmy here from Virginia. Have you seen this article published yesterday? New Map. Interesting. Glad they have clarified that it's a flattened out version of the globe. And it's from nationalgeographic.com. It's called Cartography, Gigantic Ancient Map assembled for the first time. So bizarre, enormous 16th century map assembled for first time. And it's out of the National Geographic website. So there you go. She asked, and there's one of the maps. So very cool. Thank you for that. Oh, and that's from James. Thank you, James. This one's called Flat Earth Songs, Writers on the Globe and the Dawn. Hi, Mark. Just listening to one of your recent interviews, and I must say, your spiel, I don't think I've ever had anyone write that to me. Your spiel is getting much stronger. Nice work, sir. Anyhow, I've been working hard on a couple of covers of The Doors to add to your Flat Earth playlist. Seems to me that they would have stood for Flat Earth since they were always so anti-establishment. So using doors to open doors, haha. And so he links two songs. One is called The Dawn, a play on the end, and Riders on the Globe, a play on Riders of the Storm. Thanks again, Mark, and that's from Zane. And what I did with his songs. Anyone that makes a Flat Earth song, I've now have a condensed playlist, which is called Flat Earth Songs or Flat Earth Music 2015 to present. So every Flat Earth song that's still around there, provided your channel's still out there, that people have sent to me or I have found, I've added to this playlist. And if you go through that playlist, if you look through it and there are songs on there that you know that others have made, please send them to me. And I will add them to the list, because quite a few people have asked me for the Flat Earth song playlist, and the Flat Earth music playlist that I have out there has got to be pushing 240 tracks at this point. So great. This one is called FPV Angel. Hey Mark, FPV here. I read the email. This is about the conference. Essentially, I think you responded perfectly. There's a lot of crap going on at FE and such, but I just distanced myself from it. I'm a researcher, not a drama fan. Also had the usual accusations. I'm an infiltrator, etc., but not on the scale I've seen against Patricia and yourself. I tire of explaining to these idiots that people have levels they're comfortable with going down the rabbit hole. It's perfectly acceptable to me. We are entering the dangerous world of politics, and caution is advised. You play it safe, and I see why. It wouldn't last long if you launched into some kind of attack anyway. Keep up the good work, mate, and ignore these clowns. Too much jealousy and stupidity and even politics. Which map is the correct one, etc. going on in the Flat Earth currently. Can't please them all. And that's from FPV. Thank you, man, for that. And I didn't have to read that one on air, but I kept it pretty sanitized. This one's called, what is this one called? Flat Earth. Let's see here. Hey, Mark, I just wanted to thank you for your YouTube videos on the Flat Earth clues. They are very well done. I, too, have awakened to the darker side of the reality we call life here on planet Earth. After my eyes were opened soon after finding out about 9/11 was a false flag event around 2003 or 4, I have been questioning everything. And now, finally, the reality of our world being a plane and not a sphere has been made clear to me. The fact that on large surfaces of water, no curvature can be measured or a gyroscope will not precess as the Earth supposedly rotates on its axis, or watching videos where ships do not sink into the sea horizon but are only obscured by the mirage effect that happens at boundaries between two mediums, much like what happens to vehicles on roadways a long distance away that appear to disappear in a watery mirage. I took up your challenge about checking out your list of the Southern Hemisphere cities and exploring their flight paths and time and distance calculations. What I ended up doing was to map out the flight paths of those cities you listed both in a standard common map layout and in azimuthal equidistant map layout. What I discovered, I believe, is a smoking gun. Attached is my pictorial of those commercial flight paths in both map systems. I discovered that in each map presentation, the flight path overflies different countries, so all a pilot passenger would have to do is to observe what country's geography their plane flies over to verify the accuracy of one or the other mapping projections. Anyway, I hope this helps in awakening others to the truth of the Truman world we live in. Thank you, Mark. Gary Jones. Thank you, Gary. It's awesome. I will have to take a look at that attachment. This one's called Salem Oregon Flat Earth Meetup. Mark, appreciate the usual feedback. Although you're perhaps already aware of it, I wanted to mention a significant find just in the last 2 days, which turned up because Carolyn had asked me for a summary of the history of the Flat Earth movement. My go-to man has always been Robert Shadwald, whom I know personally in the late 1990s and who is regarded by both flat earthers such as Charles Johnson and the mainstream scientific community as the greatest authority on the history of the movement. Good to see what Jeranism recognized his significance and commented that Shadwald had a knack for reporting the facts regardless of his own opinions. His 1978 article in the Smithsonian Magazine mentioned he was writing a history of the movement, so I asked him back in 1998 if he had ever published it, and he replied that he was still polishing it off. So he died in 2000 with it unfinished. Shocker. I still possess correspondence Shadwald and I exchanged back in the 90s about flat earth issues. Since then, Christine Garwood wrote a hefty tome history of the modern flat earth movement, since row bottom largely based upon Shadwell's research. I view her book as a supplement to Shadwell's work. She amassed a bunch of facts, but his perspectives and understanding of it all is superior and quite invaluable. Her opinions are perhaps reflected somewhat in the title of her book, Flat Earth History of an Infamous Idea. So I came across Shadwell's book online 2 days ago, not realizing his family had published it online 2 years ago. And it's called, what's it called? Hang on, there's a link here to it. And the book is called, I don't know, but it's written by Lois Shadwell, Schadewald, if somebody wants to look it up. Significantly, he maintains that the early church fathers generally believe the earth to be flat, which historians of science have correctly understood until recent years when the erroneous notion that the flat earth advocates like Cosmas, I'm not even going to try to pronounce that name, were rare in the early church. Jeffrey Burton Russell wrote a slim book most often used as an authority for his view, which in my opinion seems generally coupled with an arrogant kind of American atheist revisionist history, expecting everyone to get on board with their version of Christian history. I have a number of histories of science which refute this, which I'll mention at the meetup. I wanted to mention, as I told Caroline, that Charles Johnson advocated an infinite plane, which differs from your contained dome model. Therefore, from the perspective of the ancient church fathers, the Mark Sargent model is a step in the direction of traditional truth from the Charles Johnson model, while the upwardly moving Earth model of the online flat Earth forums is a step away from the ancient Christian cosmos. Wanted to mention that, although I haven't read it all yet, I have your book, and the recognition of al-Biruni was particularly helpful because I looked him up and quickly learned that his map of Africa was significantly different from that of early Islamic geographers. He corrected their errors. You see, it was the rise of Islam that ended the flat earth predominance of geography, which had characterized the Constantinian era. The Muslim scholars resuscitated the errors of the Greeks and pagan scientists, including especially Claudius Ptolemy, whose erroneous spherical views became the basis of their geography. This included a very inaccurate overestimation of the size of Africa, taking up most of the Indian Ocean, which was not corrected until al-Biruni came along and corrected this glaring spherical error, which thereby paved the way for Vasco Gama to round the Cape of Good Hope and travel to India, as well as the age of explorers generally. It was the correction and refutation of globularist errors which made expanded navigation feasible. Remarkably, al-Biruni's map of Africa looks remarkably similar to that of the Egyptian flat earth Christian cosmos, and I cannot pronounce this guy's name. I'm going to spell it for you. Indico Eustes, who lived over 500 years before him. The recognized authority on Muslim science is the Turkish scholar Fuat Sargent, who has edited a 10-volume encyclopedia of Arab Islamic science and also founded museums of medieval Islamic scientific instruments full of astrolabes, etc., in both Istanbul and Germany. He has been writing on this since the 1950s and is prolific. Fuat Sargent, I'm just butchering that, I know it, authored the most informative booklet I've found on pre-Columbian travel across the Atlantic by Muslims since the 1300s, and has surveyed and charted the Americas with a level of detail unknown to Europeans until the 1700s. I'm almost done, I swear to God. And which is the source of the few very detailed charts that Europeans had circa 1500, which is otherwise inexplicable. This book gives evidence, among other things, about knowledge of the southern tip of South America by Indonesian Muslims prior to Columbus. He brings out such facts which he says are known to Western scholars, who generally conceal them unless presented in a certain context which minimizes their significance. He stated that at least from the 10th century onwards, Muslims had as their goal to explore and to map the end of the world. There you go. And that is from LS2. No, I'm sorry. That is from Dionysii. Dionysii. So thank you for that. Excellent. Very, a lot of work there. Oh, let's see. This one's called Good Morning Britain. Hey, Mark, just got your interview on the show. Well, kind of. Had to watch a mirrored and choppy video on YouTube since the original seems to be deleted everywhere. Yeah, it's true. They do not like anything reproduced. I don't know why. I don't know who owns Good Morning Britain. But how was it? It sure seemed like it went quite well, considering how those things normally go. Hope is all well, Ryan. And yeah, Good Morning Britain, which I was on, which is the equivalent of Good Morning America over here. It was me sort of talking to Terry Virts. You guys are going to have to look it up somewhere. You're not going to be able to find it on YouTube probably, unless you get like a second generation copy. And the things that stick out, the big one is that I was not allowed, even though they did not tell me in advance, I was not allowed to talk directly to the American astronaut Terry Virts, Virts, if you want to look him up. I tried. I used his name several times, addressed him directly, and wasn't going to happen. Also, a little disadvantage, I was coming in through Skype, but he was actually there in the studio, sitting there right next to him, so it wasn't a Skype connection. And so, again, when people are saying, oh, you should have attacked Terry right off the bat and started yelling and screaming, it's like, no, because I'm on a Skype connection. They can make up any excuse they wanted to disconnect me. And the bigger thing after that is I was gunning for other producers, meaning if you're polite and civil, you will get invited on other things. If I'm going to get thrown off of a show, I am going to be sitting next to the person when I get thrown off. I am not going to be thrown off because I'm disconnected from Skype. So yes, eventually I will get to attack an astronaut or really dig into him. But he wasn't even allowed to answer any of my questions, which was interesting because Piers Morgan even saved him from the blue marble shot. Wasn't going to happen. So whatever. Everything for a reason. This one's called Outcast Radio Archives Backup. Hi, Mark. You don't know me personally, but we've talked a few times. I've been interviewed by the same guy, my friend Don Campbell. Anyways, I'm very sorry people are giving you a hard time. It must be awful. I think that people can be ridiculous in this movement sometimes. For what little it may be worth, I've always viewed you as one of the brightest spots in this community. I've never considered you a shill and can't even begin to understand why people even began throwing that word around. Your flat earth clues were one of the first things that drew me into this and were very compelling. I hope you won't long let your actions be dictated by those who are insecure in themselves, because that's what this is about, really. Ego and insecurity, and, if I may be so bold, jealousy on their part. Anywho, glad you're a part of this fight and grateful for all you've done to advance Flat Earth. Thank you, sir. Jason. And Jason also then sent me his Seattle contact information. Thank you, Jason, for that. Much appreciated. Always nice to hear good things. This one's called Good Morning Britain. Mark, wow. That was one of the most biased news sessions I've ever seen, which is saying a lot. They weren't holding back with the Elvis and Clinton questions. I think you handled it perfectly and especially liked the birthday comment. Any more coming through the pipeline? Yeah. Yeah, there are some other interviews. In fact, I was really sad because I did an interview for the Los Angeles Times recently, and for some reason, because I've been messing around with different microphones, trying to figure out a one that really I like for me that's really comfortable. Like right now, I'm using a headset mic just to kind of test it out. It's a noise canceling headset mic, and I had, for whatever reason, I had turned down the volume on my side compared to him, and he was typing the entire time. So I think even if my volume was up, it would have been really distracting because he had he was typing really loudly in the background. But because of that, because my volume was so low, it wasn't completely unusable, but I wasn't going to do it. So I just said, screw it. I will. I just will, I'll let the article come out and then I'll tell you guys about it. Or if we do a second interview, I'll just be careful. For some reason, what happens is when you're recording stuff through different devices on your machine, your microphone, sometimes your microphone levels are connected. So the general Windows microphone level was connected to my Skype level. And so when I turned down the Windows level, it automatically adjusted it in Skype, and I didn't double check it. So always double check your settings, which is why it's always great to have a producer. Anyway, moving on. This one's called Debunking Debunkers. Okay. Mark, I ran out of flat earth proof YouTubes. Whatever. So to feed my brain, I started looking at the debunkers' thought patterns for an outside chance I could jump back in to a spinning blue marble. But nope. The YouTube titled above, I love how he calls it the YouTube, tried to explain the globe through perspective, but then they plastered this slide on the screen as proof. But this evidence doesn't wash. The Discover satellite is 1 million miles away. Neil took a stellar photo from only halfway to the moon at 117,000 miles, and multiple Apollos took photos from the moon's surface at 239,000 miles. I think it's 237, but whatever. NASA went close to 8 times further than they needed to take photos of the Earth. What were they thinking? I guess my point from the title, I believe the next phase in educating the masses is to systematically and point by point explain how they erred and how they spin the information to trick people into thinking that they are on a ball. Yes, I have seen a couple of people tear apart globe theory YouTubes, but there should be an identical YouTube side by side debunking debunkers. Here is more illogical info regarding Discover, set to launch November 2016. Goes R will also help scientists monitor space weather, and that's from Ken in Canada. And yeah, he made a video called The Top 10 Flat Earth Arguments Debunked. May have to check that out. All right, this one's called Flat Earth 2.5 Years Later. Hi, Mark. I thought I'd touch base with you again and see how things are going on your end. Thanks for ruining my life. Seriously, though, what a monumental piece of work your Flat Earth Clues has turned out to be. Few people could expect something they created would be so important, so groundbreaking for millions of people all over the world. Wow. Laying it on a little thick, but that's all right. I'll take it. I know for me, your video series was the first on the subject to really get my attention. It's been interesting to see how many others came to it the same way. I only wish you and DeBay got along better. You know what? So do I. But I know that's not your fault. Very true. Anyway, all the best to you, my friend. I wish you well, and I hope you're working on developing a Flat Earth 3 new model that works. Have you figured out this issue with the sun rising 90 degrees east of the equinox for everyone on the plane? Peace, Chris Engine. No, I haven't figured that out yet. Hopefully other people are working on it. But as you know, I am the freshman recruiter. That is the role I have settled into at this point. This one's called Flat Earth. Okay, and okay, it starts out, hey Mark, I'm from Missouri and just wanted to tell you that with the realization the earth is flat, just wanted you to know that there is not one show on the net that I've even wanted to sit through and watch due to knowing that every show or program about space, aliens, etc. I don't know if you have had any other emails stating the same as myself. Check this out. I can only watch the old sitcoms such as Petticoat Junction, The Dick Van Dyke Show. It's a shame that when a grown man of 53 years old has nothing to do but watch shows on his laptop, but it seems every time I bring up Flat Earth to any of my friends, they, as you said, just shut down completely. However, I do find that some of them come back to get a little more info about the Flat Earth without the others knowing. So I guess there is hope, because I know for myself, once the thought of Flat Earth entered my mind, it just consumed me, and I'll never believe any shit the government, I don't mind saying shit on this show, the government or NASA says about space or other planets. I am now looking into the moon and sun as being holograms. This is really interesting because I remember the sun used to be brighter, and a bright yellow now is a dull yellow. I'll tell you one thing, that it's coming down, and as you said on your famous video, Flat Earth Clues, treat others better than you treat yourself. That struck an emotional chord within my soul that I just broke down and cried for a long time. Then I just had to watch the program one more time. Well, don't want this too long for you. So thanks, brother. Keep it flat. Respectfully, Bill Seward. Wow. Wouldn't think that treat others better than you treat yourself would trigger an emotional response. I think that was just something that people did, but glad he got something out of it. This one's called Clue 7. Hi, Sargent. Okay. I watched your video about theory of flat earth. Hey, this guy's not from the United States, so I hope bear with me. They hide God with the biggest lie ever, Flat Earth clues. For me, one of the strongest clue is number 7 about not possibility of direct connection between cities in southern hemisphere, but you forgot for one very important aviation rule that during the flight, each airplane has to stay close to, and I am correcting his grammar, to some airport where it can land in case of some problems. That your clue number 7 loses the point. Can you tell me why you didn't mention this aviation? That is absolutely not an aviation rule that you have to be near an airport. Absolutely not. I don't know where he's getting this. There are planes that fly over long stretches of oceans all the time. You have to. Also, can you send me some new links if you did not new research this area, please? Thank you very much. Best regards, Matej Kuchar. And he's from United Arab Emirates. And no, that rule, I don't know where he thinks that is actually a real thing. It is not. This one's called Question About YouTube. Hi, Mark. I think YouTube took my video down. I went to the Flat Earth meetup tonight, and I was going to show someone my video, and it came up removed. I went to the Flat Earth meetup tonight in Chicago, which was pretty well attended with 17 people. Anyway, I was going to show someone my video, and it came up removed by the owner. Bull crap. I didn't remove it, so when I get home, I look, and it isn't on my channel anymore. I'm reloading it to see what happens. I also have a 30-second one where the plane should have went 167 miles. Please watch it and tell me what you think. It is far from perfect, but it gets the point across. Notice how the bubble on the level stays in the middle. This was 20 minutes of a flight from Baltimore to Chicago after the plane was up and leveled off, and they would let you put the tray table down. In that 20 minutes, if we were flying 500 miles an hour, we should have went approximately 167 miles. If the Earth is a sphere, then the curvature of the Earth in that many miles should have been 167 times itself, which is 27,000 and change, times 8 inches, which is 223,000 inches, divided by 12, 18,000 feet, roughly, of curvature, or 4 miles. So, in that 167 miles, the pilot would have had to go down 930 feet every minute to keep the same altitude. You can check my math, but I believe is correct. We were definitely not descending 930 feet every minute. Thanks for your time, Dean Langley. Cool, Dean. And yes, you are correct. That's exactly how it would go. All right, moving on. This one's called No Curve. Hi, Mark. You've probably seen this before, but in case you haven't, and it's an article. Let me look at the article. And the article is called Meet the British Airways Pilot Filming from the Flight Deck to Demystify His Job. And that's from the website, theindependent.co.uk. Anyway, he goes on to say, I certainly see no curve from the cockpit. On another note, I don't know of an adjective strong enough to call Piers Morgan. Yeah, I know. From Good Morning Britain. Quite frankly, I think he is stealing another person's oxygen. He's an absolute fill in the blank here. Thanks for he actually put that in. Thanks for explaining on The Secret Show how things went down. I'm sorry that you're under such attack at the moment. I don't get people. Thank you for all the work you do. I love watching your videos. It is appreciated more than you will ever know. Kind regards, as always, Joss, Cape Town, South Africa. Thank you for that. This one's called Why They Hide. He wasn't being clever. I think it's just his English. It says, hello, Mark. I would like to know the reason why they hide Earth is flat. Why they were not telling us the truth. That's from Wilson. And his last name, I think he's East Indian. Watch the clues. So if you want to know why they're hiding the world, then just type in flat Earth clues and watch the whole thing. I'm just gonna, because anyone's listening to this show has probably already heard a million times. So this one's called Your Flat Earth Video on YouTube. New info. Hey there. There's no name. Hey there. Didn't say Mark. I don't even know your name. But I got this email from your YouTube video, and I had a small piece of evidence to add to your information. Back in 2002, I went to London for my honeymoon. I was living in Atlanta, Georgia at the time, and on the trip there, it was nothing special, just a normal flight. It was a flight back that made me think, wait, what the heck? We left the Gatwick, England airport on a direct flight back to Atlanta, Georgia. A couple of hours in, I happened to look out the window and saw this giant landmass of rock and ice. I was thinking, are we going to the right place? Shortly afterwards, the pilot hopped on the intercom and said that the landmass was Greenland and that we had to fly way north before flying south due to the curvature of the Earth. It totally didn't make sense to me, but whatever, I was tired from my trip and wanted to relax. Well, after watching your video and hearing you talk about the airline flights, my honeymoon with moment popped into my head, and I went, wait a minute. So I looked at the globe map in more detail, and it didn't make a bit of sense. But when I compared it with the flat Earth map, I thought, oh my God, you have to pass Greenland to get to America. It made perfect sense. The pilot seemed to know that questions would be brewing as we were flying past all that ice and snow to get to the warm climate of the deep south. And he tried to explain it away with some BS answer that he thought everyone would accept, because who would believe that the Earth is flat and you have to go north to get to the south? Anyway, it's not a lot of info, but it's a first-hand experience, proving that flights don't always go where you think that they're going. Amazing videos, by the way, very well thought out and articulated. I wish more people were open to new, or rather old ideas that challenge our way of thinking. For me, I'm not entirely convinced because I have more questions that need to be answered about the stars, planets, meteors, comets, but I'm almost there. Your video has helped me a lot, so well done. Have a wonderful day. Allison. Thank you, Allison. That's awesome. And yep, first-hand experience right there. Moving on. This one's called, wow, literally it's called You Are Wonderful. And I'm going to read it. Hi, Mark. Hope you are doing well. Just wanted you to know how important you are to me and my family. I can't thank you enough for the work that you do. I know there's a lot of negative people trying to wear you down, and we've always marveled at how resilient you are in the face of criticism and attacks. It gives us the courage to face our own attackers with strength and love. You are our hero and have brought both truth and joy to our lives. Forever grateful for you, your friends in Falls City, the Fosters. David, Becky, Jessica, Jocelyn, Juliana. I love that that's awesome. Yeah, it's great. Thank you, guys. It is heartfelt and very much appreciated. Okay, this one's called Flights Over Antarctica. Hi, Mark. I was listening to or watching one of your enlightening videos on YouTube this morning. You mentioned flights over Antarctica, and in particular, a flight that crashed and ended the practice of commercial tourist flights supposedly due to the dangers involved. This is a conspiracy in and of itself, but I'm sure it's fully linked to Flat Earth. It was Flight NZ901, a tourist venture that took passengers on a loop flight from Invercargill City, New Zealand, over the Antarctic Peninsula and back. The United States Antarctic base was close to this flight route, as was New Zealand's McMurdo base, and the Americans, using the excuse of military sensitivity, insisted on being the providers of the route near their sensitive area. This was agreed to by the airline at the time, which was Air New Zealand. The Americans then provided a flight path that took the aircraft into the side of an active volcano known as Mount Erebus. During the subsequent Royal Commission of Inquiry, carried out by New Zealand Supreme Court Justice Peter Mahan, on behalf of the New Zealand public, many erroneous errors, boy, that's redundant, isn't it? Erroneous errors? Many errors were exposed. So many that the justice stated on record in his official summing up of the evidence he had never witnessed such a litany of lies in all his years as a judge in the New Zealand justice system. I'm sure with your better computer researching skills, you'll be able to dig deeper than I can. I lived through this happening as a young New Zealander, and right from the start, many New Zealanders believed and still do that the Americans deliberately flew our people into the side of a mountain in order to stop tourist flights going to Antarctica. We have always believed that the Americans have been lying to us about why it takes a full military base for weather research. Until I was exposed to and converted from a globalist by the Flat Earth evidence, I personally believed it was all to do with the new weapons development secrets that their base held for UFO technology, and etc. However, I now think the following to be a more likely scenario. We, New Zealand, had already had 3, I think, successful return tourist flights. It was going to be a commercial success. People from all over the world were about to sign up and pay for future flights. Then someone in NASA or CIA or DID or another alphabet agency at the level of knowing the truth realized it would only be a matter of time until someone suggested that instead of a return flight, why don't we just continue over the continent and go to Argentina, party up and come back with heaps of cheap silver and Argentinian stuff. This is, of course, would be impossible, so they had to be stopped immediately, nipped in the bud, so to speak. A couple of quick points to ponder. 1, how could experienced pilots and navigators fly into a mountain in broad daylight? It's called clear air whiteout. The sun was low in the sky behind the aircraft, and white snow-covered mountain's shadow was being cast behind the mountain by the sun. A flight path had the aircraft so low, 1,600 meters, that could not see the shadow of Mount Erebus, which is only 3,000 meters. The entire background behind the mountains, so the horizon is a flat white plain. They literally could not see the white mountain against a white background. Altitudes presented here are approximations. 2, nowhere in aviation is there a commercial flight path over a known active volcano. It's a huge no-no. You don't do it. Yes, I do know this, because active volcanoes, they spew up. The ash is basically just tiny, tiny rocks, and jet engines do not digest those things well. So why did the Americans commit such a basic error that not only didn't allow the plane to circle the mountain, but instead a direct flight path into it at an altitude half the height of the mountain? Now here's where we call the rub. These alphabet people deliberately killed 257. The pilot who had been on the 2 previous flights had a gut feeling something was wrong and twice asked his navigator to confirm that they were on the right altitude, on the right flight path and heading. When the proximity alarm started screaming, he realized what was happening and requested to go around power from his co-pilot and tried to pull up and bank to the right to avoid collision. This meant the aircraft pancaked into the mountain belly first at full throttle. The pilot's last words were, "Give me go round power." All 4 throttles were pushed to the full power position. Co-pilot's last words were, "Mother." Anyway, that's the end of the email. Regards, Grant Stockdale. P.S. Can you confirm receipt of this communication? Yeah. I better type to him. Real quick. Hey there. Thank you. Just read this on QA 55, which is going up today. Mark. Not sure if you can hear me typing there, but. Okay. Moving on. This one's called I Never Miss a Video and Appreciate the Hard Work You Do. Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year from John and Beverly. Thank you, John and Beverly. It is appreciated. This one's called Thank You for All You Do. Hi, Mark. Just want to say I appreciate all you do. Please don't listen to all the haters. For goodness sake, nobody is reaching as many people as you. You can get the measure of a man by looking at the fruits of their labor, and everything you do is going to bear so much fruit. Don't give up on humanity, and especially us flat earthers. There are so many others like me who appreciate everything you do, so please don't give up. Have a holiday, a break, but please keep going. We need you and would do so much better with you pressing on as consistently as you do. Peace and love, Robin. Thank you, Robin, and that's exactly what I'm doing here. I am pressing on. The war will not end until it ends. And by God, if I have to carry that banner myself and drive it into the heart of science, that's exactly what I'm going to do. This one's called Let's Not Talk About Fight Club. Mark, so you believe that in the 1940s and 1950s, all nations sent nuclear missiles to attack the dome. Okay, first off, it was only the United States and Soviet Union, and it wasn't the 40s. It was in the late 50s and early 60s. So hopefully this email doesn't get worse than there. For one, if they did do that, not one of our brightest thought, hang on, if we break it, won't we all die? Well, there is that, yeah. That leaves me to believe that our brightest were trying to die and failed. Is the truth that important to die for? It can be. I think it is, but I have to assume our demise will be at another's choosing, not ours. Good point. I think the best thing to do is, as you say, be nice to each other and ask questions every day, even if those questions lead to an end. Yep. Though the heavens may fall. I also agree about the Bible. It has no laws in it that I need to swear on. It has good suggestions like 200 other religions, but if you need it written down, you're losing from the start. I wish you luck with Flat Earth. My opinion is that it's round, but holds at least 20 civilizations on it. Not bad. That's from Brad. Thanks, Brad. I'm not going to dismiss his opinion. All I can do is acknowledge it. This one's called Don't Lose Heart. Mark, it might be hard for me to be as articulate and succinct. Oh, boy. The fact that you use that word that I'm not means you're up on me. As I wish I could be. Succinct. I never use that word. My situation is unfortunately to be a closet flat earther. I started to think about why I am flat earth again and saw that I may have forgotten the core of what touched me. I remembered today as I re-listening to something that was the most important reason why. A truth like this will make them more noble, something we should have been since the beginning. I yearn for the day your words are reality. Don't lose heart, stay noble, treat them better than you treat yourself. Your friend from the silent majority, DJ. Thank you, DJ. Awesome. All right. This one's called No Subject. Hi, Mark. I was wondering if you could tell me what your thoughts were and what all you have researched about reptilians. I'm trying to educate myself on it to understand. Thank you, Samantha. Samantha, I don't really have an opinion on reptilians. There could be other species here that are tied to something like reptilians, maybe, but it's on a lower tier than Flat Earth. I'm really Flat Earth 24/7. That's all I do. Everything else is just on a lower shelf, and including all my old favorite conspiracies, which I don't really look into much anymore anyway. I think the reptilians and any other civilizations dovetail into what we're doing quite nicely, but I don't really look them up. So sorry. This one's called Flat Earth. Dear Mark, thanks for the great video. I enjoyed it and don't know the answers, but I know some things are wrong about everything they tell us. One question. There's a flight. Oh, yeah, here we go. From Santiago, Chile to Sydney, Australia. Actually, someone filmed inside. I put the link at three times a week on Qantas. Yeah, I know. I just can't believe all these flights are fake. No, I don't think they're fake. Someone would have to come forward, right? A pilot, passenger, crew. The funny thing, however, was that the GPS on the plane was some way off and showed the wrong direction. Yep. Please watch yourself and reply. I have. Greetings from Amsterdam. And it's from Dajo Castelline. And yeah, it's not, which is why I did Clue 9. Which in Clue 9, we get into the whole, it's not, I don't even care if the flights are real or not, because the routes can't be confirmed. Because the GPS system drops off and you can't track the flights. And I was like, well, the pilots know where they're going. I think they only have an approximation of where they're going. I don't think they actually know. I mean, the plane kind of knows, but I don't think they truly know. This one's called Rendering the Veil. Hi, Mark. My name is John. I've been on a torturous research trail with many forks and bends in the road for over 30 years now. I've just recently run across the flat earth ideology. At first, the idea of a flat world covered by a dome collided with my skeptical mind, albeit an open one. I've researched many articles and videos. I have more questions now than I have answers. However, things are starting to become more clear now. One always has more questions the further you go, because now you know what to ask. This information has brought me back to a book that I have avoided like the plague for years, the Bible. Oh, the Bible. I'm not an atheist, as I believe in a creative intelligence, but I just can't wrap my head around an old white man sitting on a throne up in the clouds, deciding what prayers he answers and what ones he doesn't. Why in the hell is God always referred to as a he, with not a sign of any feminine influence anywhere? Also, great points. I see this world, and why does he look like Santa Claus in his bathrobe? Why would he be this big, hefty guy with a beard? Why wouldn't he be young and mean? Why wouldn't he be just impossible to look at? He'd be so bright. Anyway, I see this world as analogous. I never use that word. To the city in the TV series Under the Dome. Yeah, there you go. Written by Stephen King, produced by Steven Spielberg. Extraterrestrials are from outer space? I think not. They are intergalactic neighbors just on the other side of a wall Donald Trump would be envious of. Maybe when we learn to behave, they will let us out. Below is a link not related to the flat earth I think you might find interesting in case you don't already know about it. I believe it to be one of the major keys to our salvation. Thank you for all your good work. Yours truly, John. It's good. All good points. And by the way, if you wonder why I get stuck on some words, I've made it kind of a little rule of mine that I go out of my way not to use words that, and I know it's a double negative when I say this, if the word is used in mainstream media, I'll use it. If it's not used in mainstream media, I tend to avoid it because I'm trying to appeal to the masses. The short version is, if you don't hear the word on television, I'm probably not going to use it that often because there are easier words. I love synonyms, I love lesser words. You can get away with lesser words. Sometimes it drives me nuts that people come up with more complicated words to express something that's a 1 or 2 syllable word, which we've all heard since we were 6. So I know it's an intellectual thing, but it drives me nuts. Anyway, this one's called South. Literally, it's called South. Mark, I could not work out how come there were a few southern flights, but there we go, but not many. Was listening to you on Snafu Radio, had a realization. If the GPS does not work down there, you can allow the odd plane to go blind over alone. Yes, but you cannot allow traffic. Yep, absolutely right. Oh, you got to look into sailors missing near Australia 20 years ago. There was a guy, Tony Bullimore. They were getting so frequent that the government of Australia was going to charge the lost sailors. This may be worth digging into. No, I have not heard this. Also, do you remember the days when they would cross to the satellite and we would be waiting a delay every time and it kept dropping out? And then all of a sudden you could possibly trace it to a day. The satellites became perfect overnight. If you did work on the above, you could probably do a hit piece on the day the satellites were fixed. Propaganda stopped. I have my shot firer's license. Wow. That must be in Australia. Shot firers. So that's a gun license. Interesting. Regarding opening a 152-year-old mine, if you're interested, you can... Wait, what the heck is a shot firer's license? Is that a demolition? So shot fire must be demolition, not shooting license. If you are interested, you can help if you come to Australia. Stay for a while. Dave the beekeeper. Thank you, Dave. And I don't know if I'm going to go into Australia anytime soon, but it's interesting. I'm going to have to look up shot firer's license. That's awesome. It's got to be demolition, like blasting caps. Okay, this one is called what? Flat Earth question. Hi, Mark. One of my questions is, what does as above, so below really mean? I have no doubt the Earth is flat. I have watched your videos multiple times. Listening to you is great. Some of these guys on YouTube lose my attention in about 1 minute. I hope this reaches you. Take care, Scott. Scott, thank you for that. I'm glad I can hold your attention for at least a little while. This one's called Flat Earth. Hello, Mark. My name is Mark Young. I'm having a difficult time believing in the Flat Earth. I moved to the Philippines about 19 months ago from the United States. Wow. I don't even know where to start. And I'm sure he is on his way. The journey begins for Mark Young. This one's called Flat Earth. Mark, I just watched your video on the Flat Earth theory and I was wondering, does the theory of the Earth spinning on its axis around the sun fit into this theory? Thanks, Erica Hill. No, Erica, it does not. Nothing about the solar system. Nothing about the heliocentric model. Absolutely nothing about space at all fits into this theory at all. It's a display system. The moon, the stars, comets, meteors, everything you see in the sky is just part of the show. All the world's a stage, and you're on it right now. This one's called Flat Earth. Well, a lot of people are just calling it Flat Earth. Mark, just finished watching hours of your videos. Life-changing. Thanks for the information. I am a believer now. That's from Gene Chavez. Thank you, Gene. Quite a slew of short ones at the moment. See if we got any longer ones. And as I say that, we got a longer one. Okay. This one's called Google Earth Mapping. Mark, I'm a retired air traffic controller who had 25 years with the FAA and 4 years in the Air Force. I have been quite intrigued with all the flat Earth talk on the internet. I have an open mind, and so I'm not going to ever be disrespectful to honest thought. Currently on the fence of flat Earth due to nonstop aircraft flight times in the southern hemisphere, like Johannesburg to Perth, unless someone can prove to me that they are fake. Anyway, I was just listening to one of your YouTube casts, and the subject of where did Google get their mapping pictures from came up. Satellite, spy plane, well, I can tell you 100% that all the photography here in the Midwest came from contracted aircraft flying at 20 to 23,000 feet. How do I know this? I worked as a center controller at KC Center, Kansas City Center, and had these guys, Google contracted aircraft, show up on my airspace many times, asking me for huge chunks of my airspace so they could fly north and south patterns in a box-like area for the duration of their fuel time. They were an absolute pain in my butt as I had to keep track of them flying in the flight paths of planes departing, landing, and en route. When they would show up, they had FAA-approved flight plans, but no reasons attached to their extreme routes. So, I would always ask what they were doing. Since they were not military, I had no misgivings with my query. They were reluctant to tell me, but I always got out of them what they were doing and who they were working for. So at least in the Midwest, and extrapolating that information across the country, the mapping pictures came from normal aircraft flying back and forth in a boxed area over a long period of time, not from satellites or spy planes, or at least in the CONUS, C-O-N-U-S, contiguous United States area. Thought you would like to hear this. Keep up the mind-bending work. Robert. Thank you, Robert. See? You listen long enough and you get a gem like this. That's awesome. So he's saying that all the Google Earth stuff was coming from, we kind of knew that anyway, because you don't need satellites to map for Google Earth. You can just do it no different than you don't need drones to map all the streets in Google Maps. You just put the cameras on top of cars and let them drive around. Only the planes, they need a few more permissions. Okay, we got time for a few more anyway. This one's called Survival Guide. Mark, could you please send me a copy of Empty Shelves? The Survival Guide. I'm 110% in, trying to find a P900 without freaking my wife out at the price. I already got a leveling tripod. This is still consuming my life, but it's cool. Thanks a million. Maybe one day we'll all have a piece of the pie. Thanks again, Alan Knutson. Pronounced Knutson. Oh, okay, Knutson. Sorry, my whole life I always got called Nutson. Well, yeah, 'cause it's spelled Knutson, Nutson. Anyway, thank you, Alan. That's awesome. And yeah, if anyone wants the survival guide, you can just email me at msargent23@comcast.net. Just put, you don't have to say what he said. You can put survival guide in the title, and I will shoot it off to you. It's only 2 megs. I'll shoot it through the email, and it's 110 pages. You probably should print it out. It just lets you know what to do in the event of a long-term power outage. It's not specific as far as like a meteor strike or zombies or locusts or anything like that. But it's kind of good. I recommend it. I wrote it because of the whole Katrina thing. All right, time for a couple more. This one's called Flat Earth. Hi, Mark. I'm watching your video on YouTube. Very well made and theorized. Thank you for your dedication and focus to put it out there. Do you have any other material I can learn from? I'm going to have to use this in my artwork and learn a way to teach this to my children and society around me. Much love, kindest regards, George. And yep, I will send him. Hopefully he knows where my other channel is, but you never know. Again, there's lots of people that don't even know I have a main channel. They just know that there's a couple big videos out there. One's called Under the Dome, full documentary with millions of hits. One's called They Are Hiding God, millions of hits. Has nothing to do with my channel. It's other than it's my stuff that somebody mirrored, which is great. Never going to copyright strike somebody. You can take my stuff. You can take my Flat Earth Clues, put it on your channel. Most of it's Creative Commons license. You want the YouTube nickels? By all means, have at it. I didn't even monetize for the first 15 months. I gave away so much money. Well, that's relative. Okay, this one's called Clues Video on YouTube. Hi, Mark. My name is Brandy, and I have never responded to any video I've ever seen on YouTube, but I feel I must respond to yours. I like where this is going already. I've been investigating this flat earth subject for a bit over a year. I've seen most of the offerings available on YouTube, and I believe I've seen most of your videos on the subject. First, I need to say that the interview clip with Admiral Byrd was a brilliant addition to your video, despite the fact that the host comes off sounding like a total moron with his statement that 65 years ago, about 35 years, he clearly does not know what a score is, and attempting to make himself sound intelligent using a term he has no clue about only comes off as ignorant. A score refers to 20 years, not 10. With that, I need to ask you a question regarding the flat earth subject. If I accept this notion, I find myself wondering what the flat earth is held up on, sitting on, resting on, whatever. I know what other old myths claim regarding pillars on a turtle's back or supported by a life tree, etc. And would like to know what your theory has to say. Truly interested in what you've got to say on the subject. Thank you for your response. That's from Brandy. Yeah, Brandy, what it's sitting on, who knows? I mean, I've got this cool little brass model here that's got the whole flat earth thing inside it. And if you've got one of those, if it's truly an enclosed system, it could be sitting literally anywhere. It could be on God's coffee table. It could be on advanced civilization's coffee table. It could be on a kid's coffee table, an advanced kid, mind you. But it could be sitting anywhere. It could be in a lab. Could be with a whole bunch of others sitting on something. I try to live one world at a time, if I can. That's what you really should go with. Anyway, this one's called, let's do a couple more. This one's called Flat Earth. Mark, there has to be a way we can sue NASA since we can't sue the government. Well, you see, you're kind of stuck there because NASA is the government. It is DOD. It is a military organization. It'd be like trying to sue the Army or the Navy. NASA is part of the government. So suing them would be a tough thing to do. This one's called Moon Centrifugal Force. Mark, looking at the information on the moon according to the globe Earth model, it's suggested we can't feel the rotation due to the atmosphere we're traveling in it. The moon has no atmosphere and said to be rotating at 2,200 miles an hour. Why didn't the astronauts and the lunar module fly off? And that's from AK. Yeah, absolutely great point. There's so many instances of speed and motion that are in the solar system. Oh, heck, look up the Lagrange points. If something is trying to get from here to the moon, it gets to a part between the Earth and the moon where the gravitational forces completely cancel each other out. And since the entire solar system is supposedly flying sideways like a shotgun pattern at 500,000 miles an hour, what's to keep the device, whatever the capsule, just falling back, like if you're dropping a golf ball outside of a car window. Eventually, it's going to lose momentum compared to the car because it's not in the car anymore, and it's just going to fall back pretty quickly, and with not enough thrust. Anyway, let's see if there's any more I can read before we... You know what? Let's end on that one. Yeah, let's just end on that one, because there's a whole bunch more emails I could read, but I'm going to save those for Strange World. So, thank you for everyone who has emailed me so far. It's a pleasure reading them, and I'm glad that people are reaching out to me. If you want, you can send me an email to msargent23@comcast.net. That's msargent 23@comcast.net. And I will sometimes respond to them here. Sometimes I'll write you back, depending. But until next time, guys, stay flat.